So just over a year ago, I ate one Big Mac every day for 30 days straight, and I lost 7 pounds in the process. But before I tell you how and why I did that, I'm gonna tell you a quick story. When I was 17, I asked the girl I'd had a crush on since middle school on a date, and she said yes, which was amazing and candidly a little bit surprising, but mostly amazing. Either way, when she said yes, it presented an issue. And this was an issue I didn't anticipate at all. And it was also an issue that I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined would become the literal cornerstone of my career and what I would aim to help millions of people overcome. See, growing up in a small town in the middle of nowhere, Massachusetts, we didn't really have that many date spots. Not to mention, I was a kid from a family with very little extra money, so I barely had enough change in my pocket to buy an extra lunch milk, never mind take a girl to a fancy dinner. So I took her to the place that I could afford, which was Friendly's ice cream. But that was the issue, because I didn't eat ice cream. And not because I didn't like it, I loved it, everybody loves ice cream, and if someone says they don't like ice cream, they're lying. And it wasn't because I was allergic to it, I wasn't allergic to it either. I didn't eat ice cream because I was petrified of getting fat. But it wasn't just ice cream, right? I mean, it was anything and everything bad or unhealthy or fattening, cakes, pies, pizzas, burgers, donuts, fries, you name it. If it wasn't healthy, I wasn't eating it. And unfortunately, this wasn't a one-time thing either. This went on for years and years and years. I mean, I literally didn't have a single bite of birthday cake all 4 years of high school. And this isn't me bragging, this is just a sad truth. I didn't have a single bite of birthday cake all 4 years of high school because I was petrified of getting fat. And that includes my own birthday cake. I remember I used to tell my friends that I was grounded when I wasn't, so that on Fridays after school, I wouldn't have to go get pizza with them because I was scared of getting fat. I will never forget this. I remember during Thanksgiving in high school, I used to have a couple bites of turkey, a big plate of green beans to really fill up, and then I would excuse myself from the table and I'd tell everyone that my stomach hurt, even though it didn't. So I could get away from the table before anyone had an opportunity to ask me if I wanted dessert. All of this because I was scared of getting fat. So there I was at Friendly's Ice Cream on an ice cream date with the girl I'd had a crush on since middle school. I still couldn't even believe she said yes. She ordered black raspberry ice cream in a cone. Yes, I remember. And then the waiter turned to me and he asked what I wanted to order. And I said, and I quote, "I'm full." And I will never, ever forget the look that my date gave me. She was like, "You're full?" I mean, I thought that's why we came to Friendly, so we could eat ice cream together. And I was so embarrassed. I can't even begin to tell you. Like I get cringy just thinking about it. It was awful. But the fear and anxiety of having something bad like ice cream and then getting fat was far worse than any short-term embarrassment. So I looked at her and I was like, "Yeah, I'm stuffed." I wasn't stuffed. I was like, "I'm stuffed. You have yours. I'm good." So she laughed right in my face and I fake laughed. You know, what else could I do? And the date went on. And needless to say, that was both our first and our last date. And to this day, it's still one of my most vivid memories from high school because that was the first time I remember asking myself if I was gonna have to suffer through this for the rest of my life. Would I always be afraid of having ice cream or a slice of cake or pizza or a burger? I was asking myself, would I ever be able to go on a date and have ice cream without crippling anxiety? I was thinking, when I'm an adult and I have kids, will I be able to have pizza with my children without pretending like I don't want any? I asked myself, would I ever be able to enjoy food without worrying about getting fat? That's really what it all boiled down to. Will I be able to enjoy food without worrying about getting fat? That was it. And the answer is yes, I would. I didn't know it at that time, but eventually, after years and years of studying nutritional and exercise sciences and dedicating every waking moment of my life to understanding the science of health and fat loss and human physiology and behavioral psychology, I finally got to a point in which I could enjoy my favorite foods without any fear or any guilt or any anxiety. And I feel very blessed because ever since then, I've been able to help thousands and thousands of people do the exact same thing. And slightly more than a decade after my very much failed ice cream date with my middle school crush, I ate one Big Mac a day every day for 30 days straight. And not because I think Big Macs are the pinnacle of health. I don't. And not because I want people to prioritize fast food in their diet. I don't. I ate one Big Mac a day every day for 30 days because I wanted to show people that you can enjoy your favorite foods in moderation without worrying about ruining all your progress. I wanted to show people that you can have a slice of pizza, or I don't know, hell, 3 slices of pizza at your daughter's birthday party without feeling guilty about it. I wanted to show people that you can have a black raspberry ice cream cone if, God forbid, you want a black raspberry ice cream cone. That's what I wanted to do. That was it. Was it an extreme experiment? Yes, absolutely. But was it worth it? 100%. Because sometimes you have to do something extreme in order to make a simple point. And literally hundreds of thousands of people have seen my experiment and personally told me it's changed their life forever. So with that being said, let's dive in a little bit deeper. One of the reasons I wanted to do this challenge was because of the documentary Super Size Me. And Super Size Me is one of the most popular documentaries ever made. It has millions and millions of views worldwide. And candidly, it was a genius production. The issue is, it was biased, narrative-driven, and it created far more fear around food than legitimate education. See, Morgan Spurlock's plan with Super Size Me was to eat McDonald's 3 times a day, every day, for 30 days straight. And his goal was to vividly show you how terrible fast food is for you and the severe implications it poses to your health based on the average American lifestyle. Those are his words. He wanted to replicate the average American lifestyle. But that was the issue. Morgan Spurlock did not replicate the average American lifestyle, not even close. So first and foremost, he ate McDonald's 3 times a day. The average American does not eat McDonald's 3 times a day, nowhere close to that. It would have been a far more honest and accurate experiment to eat McDonald's 1 time a day to make his point. But even that would have been a stretch. Not to mention, and I found this very interesting because they branded the whole documentary around this. By his own rules, Morgan Spurlock was required to say yes every time they asked him to supersize his meal. As if he couldn't say no, as if he can't make his own decisions, as if he's not responsible for his own choices, as if he couldn't have just been like, you know what, guys? I'm good with this size. Thank you, though. I thought that was a little bit odd. Also worth discussing, if you watched Super Size Me, did you notice Morgan Spurlock deliberately stopped any and all exercise, including walking? So not only did he radically increase his daily calories, but he dramatically reduced his daily activity by literally thousands of steps. And when I tell people this, a lot of them are like, yeah, but Jordan, I mean, he gained a lot of weight. And I'm like, of course he did. That's what happens when you eat thousands upon thousands of calories more than your body needs and simultaneously stop exercising. This isn't solely relegated to eating McDonald's. This is just basic human physiology. And not to mention, and this one goes so often overlooked, Morgan Spurlock consistently ate well past the point of feeling full and far beyond discomfort. Literally, in the first couple days of his experiment, he ate so much and got so full, he threw up eating in his car. And he even said, and you can watch this in the documentary, he said he was stuffed and he didn't want to keep eating, but he, quote, had to. No, he didn't. The average American does not have to keep eating when they're full. You don't have to keep eating when you're full. You definitely should not force feed yourself to the point of throwing up you're so full. You can stop eating anytime you want. He also didn't have to stop exercising and walking. You can and you should walk and exercise on a regular basis. And he definitely did not need to say yes every time they asked him to supersize his meal. You're an adult. You can make your meals any size you want. Now, I'll say this. I have nothing personally against Morgan Spurlock. I think he's a genius, and he's one of the best in the world at what he does. The issue is, Super Size Me did not replicate the average American lifestyle, and more importantly, it didn't show you the truth. See, Super Size Me created an overwhelming amount of fear and guilt around food, and it fostered this idea that having one bad meal will ruin any and all of your progress. Realistically and unfortunately, Super Size Me did far more harm than good. And having coached thousands of people all over the world, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that Super Size Me and a few other similar documentaries were the catalyst for the unprecedented rise in disordered eating since the early 2000s. One of my most popular sayings goes something like this. Just like nobody ever got skinny from having one salad, no one ever got fat from having one donut, right? Now, my point with this talk is not to convince you that Big Macs are the pinnacle of health, nor that I want everyone to eat more fast food. I don't. In fact, and this is one of my favorite stories of all time, during the Big Mac challenge, a young woman messaged me on Instagram because she wanted to thank me. She told me that her and her boyfriend, they didn't have enough money to buy fresh groceries. So they were living off of one meal a day, usually from Burger King, and they were buying it with discount coupons. Now, she wanted to thank me because watching me eat a Big Mac every day helped eliminate a lot of her anxiety. She was feeling guilty about eating Burger King so often. So watching me eat a Big Mac while continuing to lose weight helped her feel a lot less guilty. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm very happy that you don't feel guilty or anxious anymore. But number one, I think everyone deserves fresh groceries, just I do. And number two, I would never advise anybody to eat fast food on a daily basis. So I immediately Venmo'd her $200, just right on the spot. And she was incredibly grateful. But then I wanted to do a little bit extra, so I asked my Instagram community to contribute. And as a community, and my Instagram community is amazing, we raised thousands of dollars for this couple to buy fresh groceries. So again, my goal here is not to say that Big Macs or McDonald's or Taco Bell or Wendy's are healthy, nor do I want anybody to prioritize fast food in your diet. I don't. What I want to accomplish here is I want to help you eliminate any and all food guilt, food fear, and food anxiety. Because the sooner you can have a healthy relationship with food, the sooner you can actually enjoy it, the sooner you can achieve your goals. The issue is, now more than ever, people have terrible relationships with food, like awful. And it makes sense, right? I mean, there's so much fear-mongering and there's so much conflicting information. It's impossible to know who's right and who's just trying to make a quick buck off of you. I mean, think about it like this. There are some people out there, some experts, who say things like, you should never eat fruit because sugar makes you fat. I'm always like, really? Like, no one got fat from eating too much fruit. But anyway, then there are other experts who say, oh no, you're wrong, you're wrong. You don't want to eat fat because fat makes you fat. And then another expert will come in and be like, well, actually, you don't want to eat carbs because carbs make you fat. And then someone else comes in and they're an expert too, and they're like, well, actually, you don't want to eat protein because protein's bad for your kidneys and protein makes you fat. So, I mean, the logical conclusion here is we just shouldn't eat anything at all, right? We just eat nothing. But then another expert comes in and they're like, well, actually, eating too little is going to make you fat because of starvation mode. And don't even get me started on that one because that's so stupid and it's a separate TED Talk. Either way, what are we supposed to do? I mean, really, what are you supposed to do if everything is bad for you and everything makes you fat, right? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something very important. I don't know why I put my hand on my hip, but I did. It's very important. Listen. There is no such thing as a good food or bad food. And before you have a conniption, please pay attention. I'm going to explain why. Obviously, some foods are more nutritious than other foods. And ideally, the majority of your diet will be made up of whole, minimally processed, fresh foods. Yes, that's an ideal scenario. But there isn't a single food, not one single food that in isolation can make you fat. Because the only way to get fat is by eating too many calories on a consistent basis. That is it. Now, other experts will jump in the conversation and be like, no, he's wrong. That's wrong. There are good calories and there are bad calories. Here I am with the hand on the hip again. Listen, they're wrong. I'm going to tell you why. By definition, a calorie is simply a unit of measurement. That is it, right? If you don't believe me, you can Google it right now. What is the definition of a calorie? It's a unit of measurement. In the same way that a mile tells you how long a certain distance is, a calorie just tells you how much energy is in that food. That's it. That's all it does. Think about it this way. It doesn't matter if a mile is on the pavement or in the forest or going uphill or going downhill or even in the sand, right? A mile is always a mile, no matter what. It might take you longer to run a mile on sand than it would to run a mile on pavement because the composition of that mile is different, but it doesn't change the fact that you're still running a mile. The distance is always the same. A mile is always a mile and a calorie is always a calorie. This is so important for you to understand. And the reason it's so important for you to understand this scientific fact is because once you eliminate the idea of good and bad foods, and once you fully internalize this concept, you eliminate food fear, you eliminate food guilt, and you build the foundation for a healthier relationship with food. Now, nobody in their right mind would tell you that an apple and a black raspberry ice cream cone are nutritionally equivalent, because they're not, right? An apple has more fiber and more vitamins and more minerals and a variety of health benefits. But 100 black raspberry ice cream cone calories and 100 apple calories are equivalent because those 100 calories just tell us how much energy is in each food. That's it. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you will realize that you can enjoy your favorite foods in moderation without feeling guilty about it. Because remember, no one ever got skinny from having one salad, and no one ever got fat from having one donut. Progress, whether you're losing weight or gaining weight, it takes time, a tremendous amount of time and a ton of consistency. Not to mention, and this goes really often overlooked, progress looks different for everybody, right? I mean, for one person, progress might be saying no to the black raspberry ice cream cone, so they can stay on track and hit their calories that day. But for somebody else like me 10 years ago, progress might be saying yes to the black raspberry ice cream cone without feeling guilty or anxious or worrying about ruining all my progress and getting fat. Progress isn't solely measured in fat loss. Mental progress matters too, and if you don't improve your mindset first, any and all physical progress will inherently be short-lived. That is a fact, and I promise you that. Because sustainable progress, it only happens with a sustainable mindset. And when it comes to nutrition, what this really boils down to is understanding there's no such thing as a good food and a bad food, right? And if you think there is, I promise it's going to do more harm than good. So what I want you to get from this talk and what I want you to do is this. I want you to be able to include your favorite foods in moderation without guilt, without anxiety, without fear. Because when you can include your favorite foods in moderation within your diet, you're going to be more consistent. And again, I'm not saying make your diet junk food. I'm saying include your favorite foods within your diet. The vast majority of your diet being overall healthy, nutrient-rich, minimally processed fresh foods. But the more you can include these foods in your diet, your favorite foods without guilt, the more consistent you're going to be. And with greater consistency comes greater success, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Thank you.